My name is Jasmine Taylor, and I'm about to tell you about the time my Auntie Rochelle almost ruined my entire life over some catfish and a dream. Not the kind of catfish you fry up with hot sauce and white bread. I'm talking about the internet kind. The kind that'll have you showing up to meet Denzel Washington and end up face to face with Diesel from down the block, who still owes everybody money from 2015. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. Back when I was just minding my own business, living my best 28-year-old life in Atlanta, working as a graphic designer, and trying to convince my mama that, no, I didn't need to be married by 30 to be considered successful. It was a regular Tuesday morning when my phone started blowing up. And I don't mean like 5 texts. I mean like somebody had announced free chicken at Popeyes, and everybody needed to tell me about it right now. My phone was vibrating so hard it fell off my nightstand. I picked it up, still half asleep, and saw I had 73 notifications. 73. I hadn't even posted anything controversial. I hadn't even been on social media in 2 days because I'd been busy finishing a logo design for this bougie coffee shop in Buckhead that wanted their brand to scream, "We charge $8 for oat milk." The first message was from my cousin Tasha. "Girl, when were you gonna tell us you were on Facebook dating?" I sat up so fast I got dizzy. Facebook dating? I hadn't signed up for Facebook dating. I barely used regular Facebook except to wish people happy birthday and argue with my uncle about why he needed to stop sharing fake news articles about the government putting chips in sweet potato pie. I opened Facebook, and my blood pressure went from 0 to stroke level in 3 seconds flat. There it was, a dating profile, with my pictures. My good pictures, too. The ones from my birthday party last year, where my makeup was perfect and my hair was laid like Beyoncé herself had done it. The ones where I was wearing that red dress that made me look like money and good credit. But the bio. Oh Lord, the bio. "Hey there, handsome. I'm Jasmine, but you can call me Jazz Baby. I'm a successful business owner looking for a strong, God-fearing man who knows how to treat a lady right. I love long walks on the beach, cooking Sunday dinner, and a man who can handle all this woman right here. I'm old-fashioned, so I believe a man should be a provider. If you can't take me to Red Lobster on the first date, don't even bother. I've got expensive taste and I'm worth it, honey. Looking for someone 45 to 65. Younger men don't bother. I need a grown man with a retirement plan and a Cadillac. No games, no drama, just good loving, and somebody who can pay these bills. Swipe right if you're serious. I don't have time for broke boys or men who still live with their mama. I need a real man." I read it 3 times. Then I read it again. Then I screamed so loud my neighbors probably thought I was being murdered. My phone rang immediately. It was my best friend Kennedy. "Girl, I just saw it," she said before I could even say hello. "Please tell me your account got hacked." "I wish it was that simple," I said, already pulling on some jeans. "I think I know exactly who did this." "Who?" "Auntie Rochelle." There was a pause. Then Kennedy started laughing so hard I had to pull the phone away from my ear. "Your Auntie Rochelle? The one who still thinks Facebook is called the Facebook and asks you to print out her emails?" "The very same," I said, grabbing my keys. "I'm about to go over there right now. Jas, it's 7 in the morning. I don't care if it's 3 in the morning. She has violated me on a spiritual level. She's got me out here looking like I'm trying to trap somebody's grandfather." Kennedy was still laughing. "The Red Lobster part killed me. And the Cadillac? Girl, she's trying to set you up with someone from the senior center. I'm hanging up now. I'll call you later." I drove to Auntie Rochelle's house, doing at least 15 over the speed limit, praying I didn't get pulled over because I was not in the mood to be polite to anybody. My auntie lived in a cute little house in College Park that she'd been in since the 80s. It still had the same peach-colored carpet and the plastic covers on all the furniture. I pulled into her driveway right behind her burgundy Lincoln Town car that she'd had for 20 years and refused to get rid of because they don't make them like they used to. I could see the living room light was on, which meant she was up, probably watching her morning judge shows and eating a bowl of grits. I didn't even knock. I had a key. I burst through that door like the FBI. Auntie Rochelle. She was sitting in her recliner in her nightgown and her house slippers with the little pom-poms on them, a bowl of grits in her lap, watching Judge Mathis tear into somebody about an unpaid car note. She looked up at me, completely unbothered. "Good morning to you too, baby. You want some breakfast?" "Don't good morning baby me. Why is there a Facebook dating profile using my pictures?" She took another bite of her grits, chewing slowly, like she had all the time in the world. "Oh, that," she said finally. "I was trying to help you out. Help me out. Help me out. Auntie, you've got me looking like I'm trying to find a sugar daddy with a pension plan." She waved her spoon at me. "Now, you listen here. You're 28 years old, Jasmine. When I was 28, I had already been married twice and had 3 kids, and you got divorced twice, Auntie. That's not the point. The point is you're not getting any younger, and you spend all your time working on that computer making pictures for people. When are you going to make time to find a husband? I don't need you to find me a husband on Facebook dating. And why did you make it sound like I'm looking for somebody old enough to be my daddy?" She shrugged. "Older men have their lives together. They got retirement accounts, nice cars, and they know how to treat a woman. These young boys out here ain't about nothing but playing video games and eating up all your groceries. Auntie, you put my age range from 45 to 65. I'm 28. So, age is just a number, baby. That's not even legal in some states when you flip it around." She laughed, slapping her knee. "You're being dramatic. I got you several matches already." My eyes started twitching. "Several matches?" "Mm-hmm. You got about 22 men interested. Some of them look real nice, too. There's one named Gerald who's a retired postal worker. He's got all his teeth and his own house." "All his teeth? Auntie, that's not the flex you think it is." "And there's another one named Robert who owns 3 laundromats. That's steady income, baby. Washing machines always need running." I sat down on her plastic-covered couch, put my head in my hands, and tried to remember that I loved this woman, and she had helped raise me after my daddy died. "Auntie," I said, trying to stay calm, "you have to take that profile down. Like, right now." "Why?" "You got a whole bunch of good prospects. Because it's catfishing. It's fraud. It's identity theft. It's not identity theft. It's using your identity. That's different." "No, it's literally not." "Well, I already told a few of them you'd meet them for coffee." I shot up off that couch so fast the plastic squeaked. "You did what?" "There's a nice gentleman named William who wants to take you to Cracker Barrel this Saturday. He's 62, retired from Delta, and he's got a timeshare in Florida." "Auntie Rochelle, I am not going to meet a 62-year-old man you catfished on Facebook." "Why not? What else you got planned? Sitting at home, making more pictures on that computer?" "I have a life, Auntie. I have friends. I go places. Name one place you've been this month that wasn't work or the grocery store." I opened my mouth. Then I closed it. Then I opened it again. Nothing came out. She raised her eyebrows. "Exactly. You're not doing nothing but working yourself to death, just like your mama. That's why I'm trying to help you before you end up 50 years old and alone with nothing but a good job and high blood pressure." "So your solution was to commit internet fraud?" "I prefer to call it aggressive matchmaking." My phone buzzed. Another notification. I looked down and saw a message request from someone named Clarence. The profile picture showed a man who looked like he could have gone to high school with my grandmother. The message said, "Hello, beautiful. Your aunt told me all about you. I'd love to take you to Golden Corral and discuss our future together. I have a good government pension, and I'm looking for a wife." I showed the phone to my auntie. "Wife? You've got these men thinking I'm ready to get married." "Well, aren't you? What's wrong with marriage?" "Nothing's wrong with marriage when you actually know the person. That's what dating is for, baby. You go on dates, you get to know people, you fall in love, you get married. That's how it works. Not when you're lying about who you are." "I'm not lying. That's your picture, that's your name, and everything I said about you is true. You do need a God-fearing man. You do deserve to be treated right. And you do have expensive taste. The Red Lobster part, Auntie? Really? What? Red Lobster is nice. They got them good biscuits. I paced around her living room, trying to figure out how to handle this situation without catching a charge. My phone kept buzzing. More messages. More friend requests. My notifications were out of control. How many people did you message? I asked. I don't know. Maybe 30 or 40. 40 people. I wanted to make sure you had options. You can't just talk to one person, Jasmine. You gotta keep your options open in case they turn out to be crazy. This is insane. You're insane. This whole situation is insane. She pointed her spoon at me again. Don't you call me insane. I raised you better than that. I'm trying to help you find love before you get too old and set in your ways. I'm 28. That's what I said. Getting old. My phone rang. It was my mama. Of course. The family gossip chain had already reached her. Hey, Mama, I answered, already tired. Jasmine Marie Taylor. Why do I have 3 people calling me asking about your Facebook dating profile? Ask your sister. Rochelle did this? Yes, ma'am. I heard my mama sigh, that deep, disappointed sigh that only black mamas can do. The one that makes you feel guilty about stuff you didn't even do. Put her on the phone. I walked over to my auntie and held out the phone. Mama wants to talk to you. Auntie Rochelle took the phone like she wasn't even worried. Hey, Sharon. I couldn't hear what my mama was saying, but I could hear the tone. It was not happy. Well, somebody had to do something, Auntie Rochelle said. Your daughter is out here wasting her prime years making pictures for white folks while all the good black men are getting snatched up. More talking from my mama. I don't care what you say, Sharon. When I was her age, I had you and your brother. What does Jasmine have? Apartment and a car payment. Even more talking. Fine, I'll take it down. But mark my words, when she ends up 40 and single, don't come crying to me. She handed me back the phone. Your mama wants to talk to you. Jasmine, my mama said, her voice tired. Go ahead and help your auntie delete that profile before she gets you matched up with somebody who's older than her. Yes, ma'am. I hung up and looked at my auntie, who was back to watching Judge Mathis like nothing had happened. All right, Auntie, give me your phone. What for? So I can delete this profile before more damage is done. I can delete it myself. Auntie, please, just give me the phone. She sighed heavily, like I was the one being unreasonable, and handed me her phone. It was one of those big Android phones with the huge case on it and a screen protector that looked like it had been applied by someone having a seizure. I opened Facebook and immediately saw that she had 57 unread messages. 57! This woman had been running a whole operation. Auntie, how long have you been doing this? About 3 days. 3 days and you got 57 messages? I'm very good at marketing. I used to sell Avon, remember? I started scrolling through the messages and my soul left my body. These men were serious. They were talking about meeting up, about relationships, about marriage. One man had already asked what kind of ring I liked. Auntie, this man is asking about engagement rings. Oh, that's Bernard. He's very serious about finding a wife. He's 68, retired military, and he's got a nice condo in Savannah. 68? Auntie, he's old enough to get the senior discount at Denny's. So, he's established. He's stable. He's not going to waste your time with games. He's going to waste my time being in bed by 7:30. She laughed. You're being shallow, Jasmine. A good man is a good man, regardless of age. I'm not being shallow. I'm being realistic. I can't date somebody who was alive when they still had colored water fountains. Now you're just being disrespectful. I found the dating profile and started the process of deleting it. But before I could finish, another message popped up. This one was from someone named Darnell. The profile picture showed a man who actually looked close to my age, maybe late 30s, early 40s. He was good looking too, had that Blair Underwood thing going on. The message said, I know this is probably a strange situation, but I had to reach out. Your profile caught my attention, not because of what it said, but because my aunt did the exact same thing to me last month. I read it again. Then I showed it to my auntie. See? Even this nice young man's aunt was trying to help him find love. That's what family does. He said it was strange, Auntie. He didn't say it was helpful. I looked at his profile. Darnell Johnson, 37 years old, owned a construction company, lived in Atlanta, went to Morehouse, had pictures of himself at various family events, looking like a normal, well-adjusted adult. Against my better judgment, I responded, "Please tell me your aunt also made you sound like you were looking for a sugar mama with a medical alert bracelet." His response came back almost immediately. Worse. She made me sound like I was looking for a woman to cook, clean, and have my babies while I worked. She even mentioned that I needed someone who could make a good pot roast. I actually laughed out loud. Your aunt sounds like she and my aunt would be best friends. They're probably in the same Facebook group for aunties who think they know better than their nieces and nephews. Auntie Rochelle was trying to read over my shoulder. Who's that? He looks nice. What does he do? He owns a construction company, I said, still typing. Construction? That's good money. Does he have all his teeth? Auntie, I'm not asking him that. You should. It's important. I ignored her and kept talking to Darnell. We messaged back and forth for about 20 minutes, comparing horror stories about our well-meaning but completely overstepping aunts. It turned out his Aunt Pearl had not only made him a dating profile, but had also been going to her church and telling all the single women there that he was looking for a wife. My aunt told half of Facebook that I need a man with a retirement plan, I typed. My aunt told her entire church choir that I'm ready to settle down and start a family immediately. I'm 37. I just bought a house. I'm not ready for kids right now. At least she's trying to set you up with people your age. My aunt has me matching with men who fought in Vietnam. Okay, you win. That's worse. We ended up exchanging real phone numbers, and I have to admit, talking to him on the phone was even better than messaging. He had a nice voice, deep but not too deep, and he actually made me laugh. Like, real laugh. Not that fake polite laugh you do when someone's not funny but you don't want to hurt their feelings. He told me about how his Aunt Pearl had shown up at his house with a woman from her church one Sunday, just brought her right to his door and was like, "This is Stephanie. She's single." "You're single. Y'all should talk." And he'd had to politely explain that you can't just spring a blind date on someone while they're in their house trying to watch the game in their drawers. I told him about the time my Auntie Rochelle had accidentally given my phone number to her coworker's son, and the man had called me 17 times in one day, asking if I wanted to go to Bible study with him. We talked for 2 hours. 2 whole hours. And it didn't even feel long. It felt easy, natural, like talking to someone I'd known for years instead of someone I'd just met through a catfishing scheme orchestrated by our meddling aunts. When we finally hung up, I realized my auntie was still sitting there, watching me, with this knowing smile on her face. "Don't say it," I warned her. "I'm not gonna say nothing." "You're thinking it, though." "All I'm thinking is that maybe your old auntie knows a thing or two about bringing people together. This was an accident, Auntie. A happy accident, but still an accident. There are no accidents, baby. Only God's plan working in mysterious ways." I rolled my eyes, but I couldn't help smiling a little bit. Against all odds, against all logic, and against every principle of online dating safety, my auntie's crazy scheme had actually led to me meeting someone interesting. Over the next few weeks, Darnell and I kept talking. We texted every day, called each other a few times a week, and eventually decided to meet up for real. He suggested we go to this nice Ethiopian restaurant in Little 5 Points, which immediately earned him points because most guys I'd dated thought Olive Garden was fine dining. The night of our first date, I spent 3 hours getting ready, changed my outfit 4 times, did my makeup twice because the first time I looked too dramatic and the second time I looked too natural. Finally settled on something in between and a pair of shoes that made my legs look amazing but would probably cripple me by the end of the night. My auntie called me right as I was about to leave. "Now, you make sure you're on your best behavior," she said. "Don't be talking too much about work. Men don't like women who talk about work all the time. Auntie, It's 2024. Men can handle women having careers. I'm just saying. And don't order the most expensive thing on the menu. You want him to think you're low maintenance. I am not playing helpless for any man. I didn't say helpless. I said low maintenance. There's a difference. I'm hanging up now, Auntie. Wait, did you shave your legs? Goodbye, Auntie. I hung up and took a deep breath. I could do this. It was just dinner with a man I'd been talking to for 3 weeks. A man who seemed normal and funny and employed. A man who I'd met through possibly the most ridiculous circumstances ever, but who, against all odds, actually seemed worth meeting. I got to the restaurant first and waited outside, trying not to look too anxious. When Darnell pulled up in a clean black F-150, I have to admit, my stomach did a little flip. He was even better looking in person. Tall, well-dressed in dark jeans and a nice button-up, and he had this confident walk that made it clear he wasn't one of these nervous, awkward dudes who didn't know how to act on a date. "Jasmine?" he said, smiling. "Darnell? Hey, you look beautiful." "Thanks. You clean up nice yourself." We went inside, got a table, and ordered some food. The conversation flowed just as easily as it had on the phone. We talked about everything. Our jobs, our families, our embarrassing childhood stories, our opinions on whether Popeyes or Bojangles had better chicken. He was Team Bojangles. I was Team Popeyes. We agreed to disagree. Halfway through dinner, he said something that caught me off guard. "So, real talk. If our aunts hadn't done their weird catfishing scheme, do you think we would have ever met?" I thought about it. Probably not. I mean, we both live in Atlanta, but it's a big city. We don't exactly run in the same circles. Right. Which is kind of wild when you think about it. Like, how many people are out there who would be perfect for us, but we'll never meet because we're just not in the right place at the right time? That's deep. Are you always this philosophical on first dates? He laughed. Nah, I'm usually just trying to figure out if the person across from me is crazy or not. And what's the verdict? Jury's still out. But you seem pretty normal so far. Give it time. The crazy comes out around date 3. I'll make sure to be prepared. We finished dinner and he insisted on paying, even though I offered to split it. We walked around Little 5 Points for a while, looking in the vintage shops and laughing at some of the wilder outfits people were wearing. At one point, we passed a street performer doing a really terrible magic trick, and Darnell gave him 5 anyway, just for effort. That's sweet, I said. My mama raised me to support the arts, even when the arts are struggling. When he dropped me back off at my car, there was this moment where we both just stood there, and I wasn't sure if he was going to try to kiss me or not. Part of me wanted him to. Part of me thought it was too soon. Part of me was overthinking the whole thing. He solved the problem by giving me a hug instead. A good hug. The kind that's warm and solid and makes you feel safe. I had a really good time tonight, he said. Me too. You want to do this again? Definitely. I drove home smiling so hard my face hurt. When I got back to my apartment, I immediately called Kennedy. So, she said as soon as she picked up. So what? Girl, don't play with me. How was the date? It was good. Really good. Good. Like I'll see him again. Good. Or good like I'm planning our wedding. Good. Somewhere in between. He's nice, Kennedy. Like, genuinely nice. And funny. And he has a real job and his own house, and he didn't try anything weird. The bar is in hell. I know, but still. It was a good date. So when are you seeing him again? We're supposed to go to the High Museum this weekend. The museum? Okay. He's cultured too. I like this already. We talked for another hour, dissecting every detail of the date. What he wore, what he said, how he smelled. Kennedy was convinced he was my future husband. I told her to calm down. It was just one date. But over the next few months, Darnell and I kept seeing each other. The High Museum turned into dinner at my favorite Caribbean spot. That turned into a day trip to Athens to watch a game at UGA. That turned into him coming over to watch movies on my couch. That turned into me meeting his friends at a cookout. That turned into him meeting my mama, which was terrifying but went better than expected. We got serious. Like, really serious. The kind of serious where we were talking about future plans, about moving in together, about what we wanted out of life. He wanted kids eventually. So did I. He wanted to expand his business. I wanted to start my own design firm. We talked about buying a house together, about traveling, about building something real. And through all of it, I kept thinking about how we'd met, how my auntie's absolutely insane idea to catfish men on Facebook using my pictures had somehow led to the best relationship I'd ever had. 6 months into dating Darnell, my auntie had a birthday party. She was turning 71 and she wanted all her family and friends there to celebrate. My mama organized the whole thing at this banquet hall in East Point, got it catered with all of Auntie Rochelle's favorite foods, invited everybody she'd ever met. I brought Darnell as my date, and he brought his Aunt Pearl because apparently she and my Auntie Rochelle had become friends on Facebook and had been messaging each other about their successful matchmaking. The party was packed. All my cousins were there, my uncles, family friends I hadn't seen in years. Auntie Rochelle was holding court in the middle of the room, wearing this bright purple dress and a hat with feathers on it, looking like church royalty. When she saw me and Darnell walk in together, her face lit up. "There's my baby," she called out, waving us over. "And there's her handsome boyfriend." We made our way through the crowd to her table. Aunt Pearl was already there, and when she saw Darnell, she smiled big. "Well, well, well. If it isn't my favorite nephew and his beautiful girlfriend." "Hey, Aunt Pearl," Darnell said, giving her a hug. My Auntie Rochelle grabbed my hand and pulled me close. You see what happens when you listen to your auntie? You got yourself a good man. Auntie, you committed identity fraud. I prefer to call it divine intervention with technology." Aunt Pearl laughed. "That's exactly what I called it when Sharon here told me what she did." I said, "Girl, you're a genius. Why didn't I think of that?" "You both are ridiculous," I said, but I was smiling. "Ridiculous? Ridiculous?" Auntie Rochelle stood up, even though nobody asked her to, and tapped her glass with a fork. "Can I have everybody's attention, please?" The room got quiet. My mama, who was standing by the food table, looked concerned. "I just want to say," Auntie Rochelle announced, "that I am very proud of myself right now." "Oh, Lord," my mama muttered. 6 months ago, my beautiful niece Jasmine was single and alone, wasting her life making pictures on the computer and not giving me any great nieces or nephews to spoil. "Auntie," I hissed. She ignored me, so I did what any good auntie would do. I took matters into my own hands. I made her a Facebook dating profile, using her pictures and her information, and I found her a man. The room erupted in laughter and gasps. My cousins were dying. My mama had her hand over her face. My Uncle Jerome yelled, "That's fraud, Rochelle! It's not fraud. It's love." Auntie Rochelle shot back, "And it worked. Look at them. They're perfect together." Aunt Pearl stood up too. "And I helped. I made one for my nephew too." Darnell and I looked at each other. We should have been embarrassed. We should have been mortified. But instead, we just started laughing. "You know what the crazy part is?" Darnell said to the room. "It actually worked. If it wasn't for these 2 meddling aunties, we never would have met." "That's right," Auntie Rochelle said, pointing at him. "I don't want to hear nobody else in this family complaining about being single. You come to me, I'll set you up." I got a 99% success rate. "You got 1 success story, Rochelle," my mama said. "That's not 99%. The other percent hasn't happened yet. Give me time." The party went on, and people kept coming up to us asking about how we met. Each time, we had to tell the story about how our aunts catfished us into a relationship. Some people thought it was hilarious. Some people thought it was problematic. My cousin Tasha said she was definitely trying it with her single friends. Later in the evening, when things had calmed down and people were just eating cake and dancing to the old school music the DJ was playing, Darnell and I stepped outside to get some air. "Your family is something else," he said. "Yours isn't any better." Your Aunt Pearl told my mama that we're getting married next summer. Are we? I looked at him. Are we what? Getting married next summer. My heart started beating fast. Darnell, are you asking me what I think you're asking me? I'm not asking anything right now. I'm just saying that if someone were to ask you, hypothetically, what would you say? Hypothetically? Hypothetically. I pretended to think about it. Hypothetically, I'd probably say yes, but only if the person asking did it right, like with a ring and an actual question, not this hypothetical nonsense. He smiled. Good to know. Why? You planning something? Maybe, maybe not. You'll have to wait and see. We went back inside and rejoined the party. My auntie was on the dance floor doing the electric slide with Aunt Pearl and a bunch of other older ladies. They all looked so happy, so carefree, like they'd just accomplished something major. And in a weird way, they had. They'd taken two people who probably would have never crossed paths and forced them into each other's lives through the most unorthodox means possible. It was wrong. It was boundary crossing. It was definitely illegal in some way. But it had worked. 3 months later, Darnell did propose. He did it right too. Took me back to that Ethiopian restaurant where we'd had our first date, got down on one knee right there in front of everybody, and asked me to marry him with a ring that was absolutely perfect. I said yes before he even finished the question. We told our families the next day. My auntie cried. Aunt Pearl cried. My mama cried. Even my Uncle Jerome got a little misty-eyed, though he tried to hide it. I told you, Auntie Rochelle said, hugging me tight. I told you your old auntie knows what she's doing. You got lucky, Auntie. Luck had nothing to do with it, baby. It was all skill and divine intervention. The wedding was a year later. Big, beautiful, everything we wanted. The church was packed with family and friends. My bridesmaids looked amazing in their sage green dresses. Darnell's groomsmen were sharp in their tuxes. My mama walked me down the aisle and only cried a little bit. But the real stars of the show were our aunts. We'd given them a special honor. During the ceremony, right before we exchanged vows, the pastor asked them to come up and say a few words about love and family. Auntie Rochelle went first. When I made that Facebook dating profile for Jasmine, she said, and the whole church laughed, I wasn't trying to be nosy or controlling. I was trying to help her find what I'd been searching for my whole life. Real love. The kind of love that lasts. The kind of love that makes you better. And when I saw how happy Darnell made her, I knew I'd done the right thing. Even if I did have to commit a little light internet fraud to make it happen. More laughter. But here's what I want y'all to know, she continued, getting serious. Sometimes the people who love us see things we can't see. They see our potential, our worth, our future. And sometimes, even when their methods are questionable, their hearts are in the right place. I love you, Jasmine. I love you, Darnell. And I'm so proud to have played a small part in bringing y'all together. She stepped back, and Aunt Pearl stepped forward. I don't have much to add, she said, except that love is worth fighting for. It's worth being bold for. It's worth taking chances for. And sometimes, it's worth your auntie doing something a little crazy to help you find it. Darnell, Jasmine, I wish you all the happiness in the world. And if y'all need help finding babysitters when them grandbabies come, you know who to call. The whole church erupted in laughter and applause. We exchanged our vows, kissed, and walked back down that aisle as husband and wife. At the reception, during our first dance, I looked over and saw our aunts sitting together, smiling like they'd just won the lottery. You know they're never going to let us forget this, right? I said to Darnell. Never. We're going to be hearing about this at every family gathering for the rest of our lives. Our kids are going to hear about it. Our grandkids are going to hear about it. They're going to put it in our obituaries. He laughed and pulled me closer. You know what, though? I'm okay with that. Because as crazy as it was, as wrong as it was, it brought me to you. And I wouldn't change that for anything. You're getting soft in your old age. I'm 38. Like I said, old. He spun me around, and we kept dancing, surrounded by our family and friends. in a moment that never would have happened if two meddling aunties hadn't decided to take matters into their own hands. Later that night, after the reception was over and we were in our hotel room, exhausted and happy, I got a text from my auntie. "I told you so. Love, Auntie Rochelle." I showed it to Darnell. He got one from Aunt Pearl that said the same thing. We both laughed and turned off our phones. Because sometimes, just sometimes, your family knows exactly what you need even when you don't. And sometimes the most ridiculous, boundary-crossing, absolutely insane gesture of love is exactly what it takes to bring two people together. I never did thank my auntie properly for what she did, not because I wasn't grateful, but because if I did, she'd take it as permission to meddle in everyone else's life too, and the world wasn't ready for that. But I thought about it a lot over the years, about how one decision, one impulsive act by a woman who loved me enough to embarrass me on the internet had changed my entire life. About how I'd been so focused on my career, on my independence, on not needing anyone, that I'd almost missed out on something beautiful. A year after we got married, we had our first baby, a little girl. We named her Rochelle Pearl, after both our aunties. When we told them, they both cried. Then they immediately started arguing about whose name should come first. Some things never change. My Auntie Rochelle held that baby and looked at me with tears in her eyes. You see? You see what happens when you trust your auntie? Auntie, you catfished me. And look what happened. You got a husband, a baby, and a beautiful life, all because I cared enough to help. Your help was illegal. My help was effective. There's a difference. And you know what? She wasn't wrong. As much as I hated to admit it, as much as the whole situation had been absolutely bonkers, she'd been right. She'd seen something I couldn't see. She'd known something I didn't know. She'd loved me enough to risk making me mad because she wanted me to be happy. That's what family does. They push you, they challenge you, they make you uncomfortable sometimes. But when it comes from a place of real love, when it comes from a desire to see you thrive and succeed and find joy, you can't really be mad about it, even when their methods are questionable at best. 5 years after that first profile went up, Darnell and I were sitting on our back porch, watching little Rochelle and her baby brother Marcus play in the yard. Our aunts were inside the house, probably planning their next scheme. You ever think about what would have happened if we'd never met? I asked him. Sometimes, but not in a sad way, more in a grateful way. Like, what are the odds, you know? The odds of our aunties both being crazy enough to catfish us? Pretty high, actually. He laughed. True. But the odds of it working out this well? That's the miracle. I leaned my head on his shoulder and watched our kids play. He was right. It was a miracle. A weird, internet fraud-based miracle, but a miracle nonetheless. And the moral of the story? Sometimes the people who love you will do crazy things to help you find happiness. Sometimes they'll overstep boundaries. Sometimes they'll embarrass you on the internet. Sometimes they'll commit light identity theft. But if you're lucky, really lucky, those crazy things will lead you exactly where you need to be. Just make sure you change your Facebook password afterward. Because trust me, once Auntie Rochelle sets up one successful profile, she starts getting ideas about the rest of the family, and nobody needs that kind of stress in their life. But you know what? When I see my daughter playing with her brother, when I kiss my husband goodnight, when I think about the life we've built together, I can't help but smile. Auntie Rochelle was right all along. Don't tell her I said that, though. She'll never let me live it down. Like this video if it touched something in you. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories about what it means to be human, to be family, and to choose love, even when it's complicated. I'll see you next time.